Michael Ortiz Hill,
Indeed.
you were in the process of trying to tell us the integration between the nursing allopathic point of view and the water spirit African point of view, and your own journey in and out of the forest, embracing the story of your illness, multiple sclerosis, and emerging healed. How did finding the story of MS create the your body no longer attacking you, you no longer attacking yourself?
Well, I could wax epic about this. Such stories are undoubtedly be utterly boring, I would suspect. One little detail I hadn't mentioned. Dina had come to Africa the first time. I mean, she'd been to Africa without me before, but she had come to meet my people in Zimbabwe. And she and Mandaza very much hit it off. We went to the bush, Mashvingo, and she was initiating Mandaza into the Hebrew letters. Now, Dina, you must understand, her father was a Kabbalist, a Yiddish writer, and she has a profound connection with Hebrew letters. And she was doing an initiation with Mandaza, and I saw this, how do you say, garden variety, white male arrogance waxing up. And I'm the expert, after all. You know, she had never been with the Shona and Ndebele people, and I studied Africa, you know, up the kazoo, whatever, you know, and I said, okay, I have to pull away from this. They really don't need my advice. So I went to, there was a water, well, whatever, I went into the water to pray, which is what one does in the tradition of the Ngoma, the water spirits. And I immersed and I gave my ego to the spirits that were working with the poetry of the moment without my advice. And I stepped out of the water with schistosoma, which is a snail parasite that crawled under my skin and laid eggs in my central nervous system, my peripheral nervous system. And that night I was nauseous, I had a fever, and a few days later I was numb from the waist down. I came back to America, numb from the waist down. I was for 3 or 4 years. And
This is before or after MS?
This was the, how do you say, this was the beginning of it all. And I went to a neurologist, of course, and he said most peripheral neuropathies such as I had were undiagnosable. And they weren't fatal. I said, okay, I live with that. Okay, I work with it. Again, as a nurse, my feet were numb. I'd stand at the bedside of patients, and I knew my body was not whole. And I was on common ground with my patients, of course. And I was for several years. And I didn't expect to have anything but numb legs forever, because there's no getting rid of it. And then eventually my legs started giving away and I couldn't work at all. That's one origin of the MS. Another is mercury poisoning. My mother, I was, how do you say, conceived in a mercurial womb. My mother had the worst possible dental history, and my nervous system was shaped within mercury. And I do think that was the deep origin of the MS ultimately. And that the schistosoma finally triggered it. You know, those are, how do you say, the allopathic
cause and effect.
Yeah, of course. And I'm a nurse. What do you want? You know, I'm a nurse. However, the deeper thing is fate. What I do write about, I think I sent you that recent essay of mine. Amor fati is the Latin word meaning to love one's fate. And it dawned on me the essential thing about the Ngoma, the water spirits, and sacred illness. It's about loving your fate. Not what you have chosen, but what has been chosen for you. And that's the thing, the peacemaking thing that you're pointing out. One embraces the spirit that afflicts. One stands beside that spirit in order to heal others. You know. And that is amor fati. That is the loving of one's fate. The fate of being a fetus bathed in mercury, you know. Um, that's wasn't even born yet, you know. I mean, that is, and we all know it's common. We all know the world is poisoned. That's just a reality. The reality is that mercury poisoning has delivered me into an empathetic connection with the poison planet. And that is part of the aspect of the initiation of multiple sclerosis. And that's what I really saw when I was in the forest those 2 months. I was taking chelates, cilantro extract, which chelates removes the mercury from the central nervous system, finally. And I would empty out my urine away from where I was sleeping as a hermit. And the animals, the insects, the little black Argentinian ants, they were keeping away. And I realized I was offering my own personal toxic waste dump to the forest. And at one point I was praying. I said, "Dear God, my ancestors held slaves in Virginia. My contemporaries are killing the planet. Have mercy on us." And at that moment, right in my brainstem where they say, I have had MS lesions, I felt something of a cramp. And I thought, as a nurse, I thought, oh Jesus, am I going to have a stroke? What is this? I've never ever felt one of the lesions cramp. And I spent a couple of hours with that. And I meditated with it, and I breathed into it. And I really believe that was the moment when I released multiple sclerosis from my body.
Wow. Thank you, Michael. Okay, take a break.